we have finally made it. The season finale is season 4. Today, my friends, we are checking out Gethsemane episode 24 of season 4. Debuting May 18th, 1997, Gethsemane places Mulder in my neck of the woods, Canada, and has him discovering something that may finally prove the existence of alien life. Gethsemane begins in one of the somberest ways imaginable, as Scully is brought into Mulder's apartment to identify a body. But it couldn't be Mulder, that would be crazy. Hey, it's Section Chief Blevins. Haven't seen him since the episode Conduit. Scully's been called before a panel so she can explain just what the hell is going on. Scully tells someone she's a medical doctor.
Section Chief Blevins assigned me to a project you all know as the X-Files. As I am a medical doctor...
Say the line, Bart!
I'm a medical doctor...
Yay!
Scully pretty much throws Mulder under the bus, claiming his work was illegitimate and that he was pursuing nothing more than a big lie. It's almost like she's turned her back on him, but that doesn't sound like my Scully. Sometime in the past, two chuckleheads, Arlinsky and Babcock, are heading to a research camp because they may have discovered something. Written by Chris Carter, oh no. Okay, now remember, this alien is frozen into the wall. This will be important later on. Back to the panel, Scully explains why she split off from Mulder, and it basically comes down to his work being a huge lie. Mulder got duped by someone, and Scully, for some reason, now wants to expose it. Now back in time again, as the Scully family are having a nice little get-together. But oh no, it's Scully's brother Bill.
I'm sorry I'm late. My ship got stuck in traffic.
Oh, Bill. You know, maybe Bill isn't so bad. I'll give him a break for now. The one person Scully doesn't seem very thrilled to see is Father McHugh, the priest of the local church she used to attend. He's not a bad guy, Scully's just dealing with some stuff and kinda wants to do it on her own.
Only got one question.
What did that chicken in there do?
What did the chicken in there do? Oh, Bill, stop, you're killing me. Father McHugh's jokes aren't nearly as good, but he tries to convince Scully to come back to the church as it might help her deal with her illness. I kind of understand where Scully is coming from. It's not that she doesn't believe, but everything that has happened to her has really tested her faith. Plus, she's generally better off doing things her own way. It's nice that her mom went around blabbing about her illness, though. This bit of awkwardness gets interrupted when Mulder calls to inform Scully that some guy contacted him and said he may have found something. He gives no other information beyond that, and Scully's like, sure, I can ignore my family who I never see to go chasing something you've given me zero information about.
By my rough estimate from the sediment in our ice core samples, the body you're looking at is over 200 years old.
Aliens. Scully got pulled away from her family for aliens. Why does Mulder need her exactly? I mean, aliens are his thing. Couldn't he do this on his own? Mulder does question the validity of the whole thing because he's been tricked with fake evidence in the past, so what makes this one any different? Well, I'm glad you asked, because Arlinsky has ice core samples, which could prove whether the alien has been there for thousands of years, or if someone just placed it there recently.
You have no opinion?
This is your holy grail, Mulder, not mine.
What is that supposed to mean?
I think it means she really doesn't care, Mulder. She's got a little more to worry about at the moment, like a giant tumor in her brain. The two get into an interesting discussion about belief and proving the existence or non-existence of alien life and God. At this stage, I think both are in fairly similar positions as far as their beliefs are concerned. Mulder dealing with his sister's abduction and the truth about extraterrestrials, and Scully's with her cancer and her shaken faith in God. These two are so much alike, yet so different at the same time. What Mulder doesn't know is Scully's cancer has metastasized, and her end might be closer than he knows. Back at the dig site, the men are trying to remove the chunk of ice housing the supposed alien. However, while cutting, one of the men notices what looks like a channel of some kind heading directly to the alien. So could the alien have been poured into the ice, like a giant mold to fool people like, say, Mulder? I have no idea how that would work.
Don't misunderstand. This is old ice. The sample has numerous layers of sedimentation, like the rings on a tree essentially.
Despite Scully not really wanting any part of this, she still examines the ice core sample for Mulder. The core for the most part appears normal. However, it has strange cellular material in it that may be hybrid. But hybrid of what exactly? Back at the dig site, this guy must have had to go take a leak, because why is he up so late?
What's going on?
Mulder returns to the site with Arlinsky, and that's odd. Where did everyone go? Oh, I hope this isn't like the Dyatlov Pass incident. They come across one of the men shot, or as Mulder puts it, napping. Meanwhile, Scully walks in on a strange man stealing the ice core sample. What, he couldn't close the refrigerator when he was done? Scully chases him down because obviously he's not supposed to be there. He's just lucky she has cancer, because if she was at full strength, why, Scully would have double-legged him in a second. Mulder and Arlinsky make it to the cave and notice all the men aren't doing so hot, and the supposed alien body is now missing. Thankfully, Babcock survived. Babcock.
I buried it.
Where?
I have so many questions. When and how did he manage to bury this giant chunk of ice? Look at the size of this hole. That ice block had to weigh hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. And how did they even manage to cut it out? Cutting around it makes sense, but behind it? I have no clue as to how he cut the block, pulled it out, and then buried it before some gunmen that he didn't even know would show up came and shot all the men. But hey, at least Mulder still has his alien. At the hospital, I'm guessing, Bill brings Scully an extra set of clothing after her little tumble and confronts her about her cancer. Again, there goes her mother blabbing to everyone about Scully's illness. The thing that always annoyed me about Bill is how he blames everything that is happening to Scully on Mulder. She's a grown woman and can make her own decisions. I understand he's probably scared because this is his little sister, but ease up just a bit. Mulder and Arlinsky somehow lug this ice block back to Washington in a truck that does not look refrigerated, and I have a lot of experience with refrigerated trucks.
If this were a hoax, would we have 6 dead men up on that mountain?
He brings up a good point, Mulder. Would someone really go through all of this just for a little hoax? A fingerprint of Scully's attacker is somehow lifted from the staircase, despite I'm sure many people using it, and when it's ran through the federal database, they find their man Michael Krichgau. But why does this photo look like a thumb? Meanwhile, Mulder and friends are going over their newly acquired alien body, which I'm sure is definitely real. Mulder's never been duped by something like this in the past. Seriously though, Mulder has been witness to an alien autopsy before, and even bought a VHS tape of one, so he should be pretty skeptical about the whole thing. While that's going on, Scully is waiting outside the Department of Defense for her attacker. He has no idea just how screwed he is. See, Scully is like Batman and Kevin McAllister. You give her a bit of prep time and you're done for.
Get out of the car! Now!
Oh, she's so feisty, I love it. At this point, Mulder is 100% convinced that this alien is the real deal. The real issue here is he doesn't have Scully by his side to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. However, things are about to get real bad real quick. As Mulder leaves so Scully can drop a bombshell on him, a mystery man who I'm going to assume was supposed to be the gray-haired man before getting canned from this show, barges into the warehouse where the men were dissecting the alien body, because this whole thing was a setup. That dastardly Babcock was a bad guy from the very beginning. Babcock. Oh no, not Arlinsky. He was my favorite character. Obviously, this whole thing was a setup, and the alien wasn't actually real, which is exactly what Michael Krichgau tells Mulder. Krichgau explains a lot more, in fact, basically spilling the beans that everything Mulder has experienced, all of his memories, his sister's abduction, every single thing has been faked in order to make him believe, so he would one day go public with the information and basically make himself look like a crackpot, while the real conspiracies continue on behind the scenes. Even the most recent alien body that was recovered was faked in order to make Mulder believe. Now Scully, of course, believes everything Krichgau has stated, and kind of has some resentment towards Mulder. If she hadn't been partnered with him in the first place, she may not have been given her cancer, and her sister Melissa may still be alive. However, I don't care how good this shadow government is behind the scenes, there is no way they could fake some of the things Mulder has seen. He's literally seen a man shapeshift in front of his face. How do you fake that?
It's gone.
Krichgau was at least right about one thing. The alien body was removed before it could be proved to be a fake. Despite everything Mulder has just been told, he still wants to believe that the alien body was real.
He said that the men behind this hoax, behind these lies, gave me this disease to make you believe.
After hearing this from Scully, Mulder comes to the realization that she might be right, that everything he's believed from the very beginning has been a lie. It's hard to see him so heartbroken, but if it's true, if everything was faked from the very beginning, then what really happened to his sister?
Agent Mulder died late last night from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
It doesn't matter how many times I hear Scully say that Mulder took his own life, it still gives me goosebumps. I never saw this episode when it first aired. My experience watching The X-Files was sporadic at best when I was young. It wasn't until a few years later when reruns would air on the Space Channel here in Canada that I was finally able to watch the show in its entirety. I remember watching this episode and being shocked by Scully's proclamation that Mulder had died, but because I had seen episodes that came from later seasons prior to seeing this one, it sort of let a bit of the air out of the bag. I knew Mulder wasn't actually dead, but during Gethsemane's original airing, it became all anyone would talk about. The episode garnered some of the highest ratings of the season, and even surprised series creator Chris Carter with how much people seemed to be invested in the mystery of Mulder's apparent death. The whole plotline of Gethsemane revolved around a hoax, but there were actually huge revelations in the show, and it was amazing that we could get people to believe that Mulder would actually kill himself because his belief system was stolen from him. The internet sort of exploded in fan theories about what might have happened. The Wall Street Journal printed an article titled "The Truth is Out There," and so were fans' theories, which gathered some of these speculations which ranged from fairly standard to truly bizarre. One theory suggested Mulder faked his death and went into hiding where he would search for a cure for Scully's cancer. Another suggested that he had been kidnapped by the cigarette-smoking man, but for what purpose? Well, they never explained. One person said the whole episode was a lie because it was told in flashback, which makes little sense. Another theory was the whole thing was a dream, brought about from the hole drilling experiment that Mulder underwent in the previous episode Demons. A sillier idea was that Mulder simply dropped his gun and it went off, since he was always known for losing it. One woman posted her husband's theory, "My darling husband's truly awful theory, there is no 5th season," which brought about a response from a secret Fox exec that said that would be a conspiracy reaching the highest levels of Fox. Another theory suggested that Mulder was in fact dead, but would later be brought back with alien technology or some new advanced scientific method. A final theory stated Mulder was in fact dead, but would live on in flashbacks and dreams only. I'm not sure how that would work. Maybe if the show went full Monster of the Week and forgot about the mythology arc entirely, but that wouldn't make sense. Several weeks after the airing of the episode, The New Yorker ran a cartoon in its magazine which featured a depressed man speaking to a shrink and said, "I see no problem with a limited period of grief, as long as you keep in mind that Agent Fox Mulder was a fictional character." Regardless of what people thought had happened, it made for a good water cooler conversation and hyped up the anticipation for the 5th season. Chris Carter wrote Gethsemane and described it as being a big ideas episode, with part of its themes being the debate surrounding the existence of God and Mulder's belief in aliens. This theme of God also inspired the title of the episode. Gethsemane, or the Garden of Gethsemane, is where the Bible spoke of Judas's betrayal of Jesus, and is a not-so-subtle hint to Scully's apparent betrayal of Mulder. Though I mean it's Scully. Would she ever really betray Mulder? Chris also wrote the episode to feel a bit more grander in scope, which sort of caused a few problems. For one, in order to make it feel like the actors were in a real freezing cave, one of the biggest and most expensive sets in the series' history had to be built. The set was built in a refrigerated building. It required several truckloads of wood and 10,000 square feet of styrofoam. The temperature of the set was fixed to minus 21 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 29 degrees Celsius, and was so cold that it caused one of the ice blocks carrying the alien body to explode. Luckily, they had a second one just in case something happened. But this wasn't the end of the headaches. Shooting outside for the mountain scenes also became an issue, as the weather would rarely work in their favor. Either there would be whiteouts from the wind and snow, or it would get warm, which would cause the snow to melt, exposing the bare ground underneath and making matching the shots almost impossible. Also, since this was the last episode of the season, everyone, that's cast and crew, had an agreed upon end date for when they would stop working. However, because of the delays, additional shooting days were required. To make things even more difficult for David and Gillian, they were both set to start work on the X-Files movie, with only a short break between the filming of the season 4 finale and the film, so they were pretty exhausted. By the time all things were said and done, Gethsemane turned out to be 12 minutes too long. Chris Carter took what had been shot and re-edited the entire thing, removing many scenes of hiking through the mountains. All hands were on deck trying to get the episode finished and ready for its premiere. Editing, post-production, and color correction were all finished and 3 completed copies were made. One for the US, one for Canada, and a third master copy that would be used in case something were to happen. The tapes were picked up in the morning the episode was set to air and were rushed to the respective Fox broadcast centers where they would be shown to the public. It feels like they were always rushing on the X-Files. The amount of times they've had to get an episode out last minute is pretty staggering, but it seems to be the norm. It seemed to pay off though, because currently it sits at 8.6 on IMDb, which is a pretty solid rating. I think an 8 is about where I stand on this one. Up next, we have the season 5 premiere as Mulder finds himself inside a facility that may have the cure for Scully's cancer. Oh, I guess he didn't die. In the episode, Redux. So what do you think of Gethsemane? Did you see the episode when it first came out? And what was your theory surrounding Mulder's apparent death? Let me know down in the comments because I'm sure you've got some wild ideas. Anyways, that's all for today. I really hope you're doing well and stay spooky.
The wait is over. The X-Files' biggest discovery
We have an extraterrestrial entity.
will turn Scully against Mulder.
I am here to expose his belief in the biggest of lies.
But the truth
Stop! Middle Agent!
will cost one of them their life. The X-Files shocking season finale, Sunday on Fox.